Welcome to We Sing the Bass Electric, a podcast for bass lovers and music enthusiasts of all genres. Join us as we revisit some of the most iconic recordings from different bassists, past and present, discussing behind-the-scene insight and stories that made up some of the most revered albums of our time, all from a bass player's point of view. Now here's your host, international recording artist, Mr. Christian De Masonis, aka Big New York.
In part one of our conversation with Joe Bouchard, we discussed his development as a working bassist, Blue Oyster Cult's audition for Clive Davis, Road Stories opening up for Alice Cooper and Kiss, and his love for his alembic bass guitar. In part two, we pick up the conversation in September of 1978 when Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy came to the rescue by lending Blue Oyster Cult their equipment. Here is the story. I have a very interesting question for you now. So in that period of your life, do you happen to remember, did you always play through your rig on every gig? Especially especially as a headliner. Did you always play? And this is a trick. This is a trick question for you, Joe, because I'm going to get you on this.
There was one time our equipment truck didn't make the show.
Yes, that's so what I was going to talk to you about.
I played Phil Lynott's bass.
And guess what, brother? I was in the audience. I was in the front row in the balcony, and I will never forget that show. I actually went to see, it was a triple bill. If you remember, it was Dick Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, right? Which didn't show up. They didn't play that gig. And so Thin Lizzy had the burden of playing a longer set because of them. Because I'm pretty sure if I remember, we did wait a little bit for them to come on. So one of the things in my memory bank from that gig, which is, I guess, the 77, is waiting a long time for Thin Lizzy to come on. And then when Thin Lizzy came on, oh my God, they did like an hour and a half show because you guys, your equipment didn't make the show.
Yeah. He asked them, is it all right if we use your equipment? And they was like, yeah, use anything you want. And we never sounded better because, first of all, there's a difference between like Marshalls that are American and Marshalls that are English.
Yes.
And they have a different power structure or something. And of course, Phil's bass was a real bass. It was
were playing. His Fender P with the mirror pick on. I remember.
Mirror, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of pictures of me were taken at that gig, and so you'll see that mirror pick guard. Yeah.
Do you have any of those pictures?
No, I don't. But I've seen them. I've seen them around. I'm trying to collect all the pictures. When I left the band, I didn't have like 5 pictures of myself. And now, through the magic of the internet,
yes,
all those old pictures and those old memories come back. Somebody's got them out there. Get the scanner. Warm up the scanner, guys. I know you've got those snapshots. I love to see them. I get blown away every week. There's a new picture that I have never seen. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool.
So now I have this great memory as far as I can remember because that was an iconic show for me. Because I was just becoming a Thin Lizzy fan. And I got to see them. If I remember correctly, I think it was with the original lineup with Robo. It wasn't with Gary Moore because I think I saw Gary Moore the following year on the Black Rose tour as a headliner. But I got to ask you a question because I don't remember. Back then, did you perform the Golden Age of Leather live on that tour?
I think we did.
Okay, because I don't remember, and I love that song.
That might have been a little earlier than Golden Age of Leather, but we did play that quite a bit. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was, like I said, that was the Spectres tour that you were supporting. I mean, Ready to Rock, all those great songs.
Yeah.
You just made my day, by the way, that you remember that. I was testing you to see if that would come in your memory banks, and that was really cool. All right, so check this out. Now, your brother Albert collaborated on some of the greatest BOC songs, such as Astronomy from 1974's Secret Treaties.
Mhm.
What was it like being in a band with your brother? And also, so this is the A and B question, and also, since you co-wrote that song, and this must have been a very personal song for you, what's your opinion of Metallica's cover of this song?
I love it. I love it. I think, James starts to sing, and it's like, he's doing Eric. He's really doing Eric. But there's so many moments in their version. Now, I know there's a lot of magic in the Blue Oyster Cult version, and you get used to hearing the song one way. But I thought they did a great job on that. Some people take covers in a maybe a little off the beaten path, and you kind of say, oh, they didn't do that one right. No, I think they did it right, And I remember the excitement when I went to my post box, and there was a cassette in there that said Metallica on it. And a little box, one of those cassettes, in a little box, plugged it into my car tape player. And I'm driving down the road, and I said, holy crap. I just wanted to jump up and down, but I was driving, so I couldn't. But I loved it. I think the cassette might even sound better than the album eventually sounded. Maybe they sent me an early mix of it or something.
Wow.
Because they wanted to get my okay. And then, we met them at Roseland. They didn't play Astronomy that night. I wish they had, but they had a full set, and it was fantastic. And then we got to meet them all after, and they were just happy that we liked the way they did it, And you do a whole album of cover tunes, somebody's going to be unhappy. But
yeah.
we were really really happy, and it was sort of the start of the renaissance of Blue Oyster Cult. In the early 90s, because this came out in 97. In the early 90s, it was not a great time for Blue Oyster Cult music. There was grunge, there was hip hop, there was all this other stuff going on, and Blue Oyster Cult were dinosaurs. Hey, if we were dinosaurs back then, what are we now?
Well, eventually the world catches on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It comes around in a circle.
In 95, 2 years before they put out Astronomy, I went to a Metallica show, and my friend Andy got me tickets to see Metallica in Hartford. And so I had really good seats too, and I had the pass that says manager on it. So it's like the really good pass. It's not just after show. It's like all access anytime, So I didn't go backstage until after the show, and it's late at night, and it was during the middle of the week, and but there were 50 people in the catering room waiting for the band. And no band. So everybody's just twiddling their thumbs. When's the band going to come? And they're all talking about how good the show was. It was an incredible show, just incredible. So I said, well, okay, I'm just going to walk down the hallway here and see if I can find out if they're coming. So I walk down the hall, and I see this guy walking by. I said, that's Jason. Oh, so I go over to Jason. Hey, Jason, it's Joe Bouchard. I just want to tell you, that was a great show. And he says, you're Joe Bouchard? And he starts shaking my hand. He wouldn't let it go.
You mean he didn't recognize you? Or you were like, what?
No, I almost didn't recognize him because, he was off stage, and he was, had toweled down, and,
Yeah.
And so we're talking in the hallway. Meanwhile, 50 people are down in the catering room waiting. And I say, come on, let's go down to the catering room, and I'll introduce you to the crowd. So we go down to the catering room, and And Jason's the nicest guy, and he's like talking to everybody in the whole room and then shaking hands and and I remember sitting down with some of my friends from the guitar workshop, and Jason's saying, and that guy over there is a big influence on me. It's like, wow, it's so cool. Because I never used to go backstage and hound bands, I know what it's like. You don't want to be hounded after a show or, things like that. But Jason was just so nice. 2 years later, they cover the song that I co-wrote. So now I go backstage every time I can.
Wow.
You never know.
No.
You never know,
So coming up to speed, we're getting closer now to, I guess, to the years of you being a solo artist, but you had a side project with your brother called Blue Coupe.
Yes.
Right? And you play guitar. You play guitar in that band, and that band includes another of rock's greatest bass players, Dennis Dunaway of the Alice Cooper Band.
Absolutely.
Was it difficult to hand over the bass reins to another great player?
Well, even before I left, while I was still in Blue Oyster Cult, Dennis has always been a good friend of mine, and Neil. And they had a band called Flying Tigers. I actually produced a demo for Flying Tigers. I think I did some mixing. I don't know exactly what it was. Flying Tigers, they were kind of an 80s band, not really like Alice Cooper, which is kind of what Dennis was looking for. He doesn't like to do the all Alice things all the time. So, but then they had a couple other sort of situations. They had a trio for a while, and that didn't work out. But I would always be hanging out and checking out what they were doing, going to their studio. We'd jam a little bit, and then even before I left Blue Oyster Cult, I would come off a tour and I'd go right to Neil's house, and we'd be jamming. We'd be doing Alice Cooper songs. We'd be doing Yardbirds covers. We'd be doing original music, songs that they wrote, songs that we co-wrote together. So we had a little band called Bouchard, Dunaway, and Smith. And we put out Neil got a deal for a little record deal. We put out a record with Charlie Hune, who was a singer with Ted Nugent. He's now the singer with, he was the singer with, he took over for Dave Previtt in Foghat. So he's a singer in Foghat now. Great singer and a lot of fun. So we made an album called Dead Ringer, and that they put out the album. Nothing happened with that, so that kind of fizzled. And then I started a band called the Cult Brothers, and we changed our name to the X Brothers because we didn't want to be confused with the Blue Oyster Cult, yes. Cult Brothers. And also my brother didn't want to do it. He had started the Brain Surgeons. Oh, I could go through names of bands and really confuse you. So he started the Brain Surgeons, and I had the Cult Brothers and the X Brothers. And they were just sort of like club bands, especially on my part, was, something just to have some laughs. But Albert had a breakup with the Brain Surgeons. And so, and Neil didn't want to tour much. He doesn't like to play out much. So when the Brain Surgeons fizzled, and I said, well, hey, this would be good. But we did CBGB's. We did one of the last gigs at CBGB's because it was a benefit to keep the doors open at CBGB's. So from that gig, Albert met some guy who has a club in the Poconos, in Pennsylvania, and he said, I want you and Dennis and your brother to come up and play my club. So we drive up to the Poconos. We played this club. We did 4 sets in one night. No rehearsal at all. But of course, I know Dennis. Albert knows me. We just have so many songs that we could play anyway. So we had a great time up there, and that was the beginning of Blue Coupe. Albert was available. Dennis wasn't playing with Neil, so and I was ready to go and do it. And we've had a great time with Blue Coupe. We've done Europe, and we did Sweden last summer.
Wow.
A fantastic show at the Sweden Rock Festival. And they would have us back anytime. We were supposed to play Sweden again in March, but because of the pandemic, we were headlining on this cruise, but nobody's getting on a cruise ship.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. So
no,
it's okay. We're sort of getting on. We're doing a lot of virtual stuff. We do. Blue Coupe is doing an animated video, fully animated. We got animators in England that are working on a new. It's going to be very different for us to do an all animated video.
I'm excited about that.
That'll be out in the spring.
I'm excited about that.
Dennis wrote the song. It's called "Jumped the Gun," and so we're not touring, but we can still do a lot of stuff. Myself and my brother, we've done various charity gigs. Doing quarantine performances. Him in his apartment. We just put the tapes together, and it's really good. We're lucky. We're lucky because we're technically minded. We can do that kind of thing.
I'm going to ask you two more questions. You dedicated your album Playing History to the memory of producer Sandy Pearlman. You worked with some iconic rock producers over your 40-plus year career, and now you're producing your own albums. How did your past producers influence your current producing style?
Oh, tremendously. Probably Sandy, because he had such high expectations. He definitely had a lot of high expectations. But I also learned a lot from Tom Werman, who did our Mirrors album. He was he had a very structured sort of sound, and he knew how to put together very musical recordings. Probably the biggest influence was Martin Birch, because Martin did Cultosaurus Erectus and Fire of Unknown Origin, the single Burning for You, which
great,
amazing single. He had done Deep Purple, and he went on to do Iron Maiden, known as the metal guy, but he let you be yourself. He really wanted you to be yourself and try to find what's best about you. So when he did Burning for You, he didn't try to make us sound like Black Sabbath, or Whitesnake. He made it sound like Blue Oyster Cult, and it sounds really good,
Yeah.
He was just a pretty mild-mannered guy, but he was really into the mixer. When he was recording, he would know what was going to be happening 3 months later when he was sitting there with the mix. So that was Martin. We loved Martin. I would have probably stayed with the band if we could have gotten Martin again, but he had already moved on to, other projects, and unfortunately just passed away. And he was my age. 71. Man. But
you just don't know, right? You don't know.
You just don't know. I every breath I take, I thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then after Martin, we had Bruce Fairbairn. Bruce, it could have been a great record, but it wasn't. And unfortunately, and it might not have been his fault. It might have been just the time. Albert wasn't playing drums, and so not so much his drumming input, but his arrangement style was very good for the Blue Oyster Cult sound. And to not have that, and we would do our, work our butts off trying to make the arrangements, perfect or whatever. But there was just something about a little magic that Albert brings to the thing. Maybe it's the way he plays the drums in the songs or whatever. And then we did another album after there did a couple of live albums in there. Some Enchanting Evening is a great album. And then we did another album with Sandy, but by that time we were getting other people to write our music, and I felt like the magic of Blue Oyster Cult was this writing team. Not only could we'd play the stuff the way we play, but also we had a sort of magical writing team with Sandy and Richard Meltzer, who wrote Burning for You lyrics, and Patti Smith and Helen Wheels and David Roeder. They were all part of this magical, conglomeration that made up what Blue Oyster Cult was. So, and there's other people that were involved in that. But I just think that initial team was what really made the early days of the band. And that's what people are still talking about today.
And an interesting point to be made is that I never really heard any kind of friction between the members. You would think that with so many individuals in that band, all creative people, all writers, you would think that you guys would be like choking each other. You know what I mean? But we didn't hear, I never heard anything through the grapevine, or there was nothing in magazines at that time letting us know that you guys hated each other or anything like that,
We're just pretty much, my brother and I, we're from a small town in upstate New York, grew up on a farm. We always had music around us, but, we're always pretty easygoing. Donald, same way, pretty easygoing guy. Eric, same, and Alan just fits in perfect. There was no really crazy personality. We were pretty much regular guys. It doesn't make for a good behind the music story, so they had to make up the cowbell.
Well, yeah, I didn't really want to bring that up, to be honest with you, but the funny thing about the whole Saturday Night Live skit was I thought that Horatio Sands played a great Joe Bouchard.
Perfect.
I mean, it was
Did
perfect.
you notice that? The way I do my head like that, and my hair's flopping side to side. That was perfect.
That was perfect.
Yeah, I've never talked to him, but when I do, I'm going to say, "Did you watch the videos of me?" And there might have been a couple out then.
Yeah.
So that is special. That Horatio was me. Of course, I was never that fat.
No, but it was still a good choice, man. I mean, everybody was perfect.
They screwed up all the names, but it wasn't supposed to be real. It was supposed to be comedy, and the conflict comes between the cowbell player and the guitar player, and then the producer gets involved, and then it goes really crazy. So lots of good laughs there. We're not complaining about that at all. I know some people, you don't want to be a one joke kind of guy, but and everybody always treated that song as like so reverent. They're so reverent with that Reaper song. It's so spiritual, and what is he talking about? And then it's kind of science fiction. It's like, but they just brought it down to a level that everybody can have a good laugh about it. So,
I mean, in my opinion, it's like right up there with some
of the great ones. Yeah.
I was going to say, what's Journey's biggest song, the most downloaded song?
Don't Stop Believing.
Don't Stop Believing. I think Don't Fear the Reaper is probably number 2, man. I mean, it's got to be up there.
Incredible legs. It just has. There's going to be a new Stephen King movie. A remake of The Stand, and guess what song they're going to use? That's what the rumor I've heard. They never tell me anything. So.
Well, I'm a big fan of Stephen King. We're going to we're going to play a little game in a few minutes. So my last question to you. Now we are in the here and now, and we are about to talk your latest 2020 release, Strange Legends, and it has you collaborating with sci-fi writer John Shirley and drummer Mickey Curry of Alice Cooper and Daryl Hall, John Oates fame.
Yeah.
What bass did you use to record on Strange Legend? And do you have a favorite song from the album?
Well, I like African Queen a lot. That was a song that I wrote by myself, and I just saw the movie called The African Queen from 1951, and it's one of those songs that was basically easy to write. The bass is the Music Man bass. I like using the Music Man bass because it's so reliable. I know what I'm going to get every time that I play it. It mixes well. It's like a bass that just is the glue that puts everything together, you know.
Okay.
I brought out the original Precision, and I'm thinking I might record some things with that. But that all the bass on Strange Legends is the Music Man bass. Okay. It was very. I recorded some really good demos of the songs. I had Mickey Curry come over to my house, and we're sitting in this room, and he's listening to the stuff. This is good, you know. Let's go in the studio, and I'll replace the drums with his performances. Now he is just one of those natural guys. One of Albert's favorite drummers.
Really?
Yeah, and Mickey loves Albert's playing. He just loves Albert's playing, and they have different styles. But what Albert likes about Mickey is his sense of space. He doesn't have to fill in every space. He just leaves it, hits a nice hit on the drum, there, open, you know. So he plays all the drum parts, and I bring the stuff back home, and I'm saying, gee, these drums sound amazing. I better fix up the bass parts. So I redid the bass parts again using his give and take on the drums. And that's why you get such a great, I haven't had that feeling since I played with Albert years ago, that where you get the rhythm section that just glues together like that. And that's part of a magical record. And then I had to redo most everything else after that too. Once I get I kept some of the keyboard parts from the demos maybe, but and then I mixed for months. There's probably 30, 40 different mixes on every song, and finally I came up like, this is the ultimate mix. And I can't wait to start another album, another solo album, you know.
Do you like using the software of today's modern technology recording? You're not an analog.
I wish I could
analog kid.
I'd have to have like McCartney kind of money to use analog. No, the software just gets better and better and better, and I can simulate analog like you wouldn't believe. But I really end up with sort of a mixture. Sometimes I'll take and put they have a tape simulator. You put a tape simulator on it, and you've got it, all right there. And the sound is there for that kind of thing. But I use sort of a mixed bag, a little bit of the analog, a little bit of the digital. You put it together, and if the balance is right, the space is right. I've been studying recording, and I take a lot of lessons on YouTube. And of course, one of the best mixers is Bob Clearmountain, who does Stones, and and his thing is the way you set up the reverbs. It's got to give you that space. What space are you in when you're listening to? Is this Madison Square Garden? Is this a club? Is this a nice concert hall? Does it have that nice space like a concert hall? Or is it just a hockey rink? You got to determine that so that when the people listen to this thing, they know where it is and, what they're feeling and what the vibe is, So I did a lot of that sort of technical experimentation before I finally got to the final mixes, and the mastering engineer put the extra 35% of magic. How he does it, I don't know how he does it, but Andy Van Dett mastered it. And I feel it's by far by far. First of all, on most of my other records, except for the first one, which I used the drummer from Skinner, Michael Cartellone. He's an awesome drummer. But I wasn't a good a producer back when I did my first album. But I keep getting better and better. And the software would get better and better. And I started programming drums. But now I'm convinced that, when you get somebody as magical as Mickey or Albert or, and you have them replace the original drums, there's something about the connection of the hand and the hand and the feet. That connection, you can program all day, but you're not going to feel that connection between the hands and the feet. And they do it in spades,
What do you use, PreSonus or Pro Tools?
I use Logic.
Logic, okay.
Apple,
Okay.
A lot of it is because the way they've structured Logic, everything just sort of glues together really well. I was using other software and I've experimented with different stuff, but Logic just sort of has something, just all the samples just, locked together. And that's what you want. You want a believable sound that really locks.
Well, you know, when I first heard the album, the first song I heard was Bottom for the Bottomless, which I love. That's my favorite song on the album, by the way. It made me feel like I was listening to a time, I guess, like Love It to Death meets Secret Treaties. I don't know I don't know how to describe it, but I immediately felt a connection. And I also listened to Playing History, which I love every song on that album. It's a strong album. Well, guess what? We are at the point of the show where I'm going to play a little game with you, Joe.
Okay.
And the game,
up for games.
You're up for it? Okay.
Sure.
The game is called The World According to Joe Bouchard. And I want you to choose either from column A or column B. I want you to choose. We're not really giving a description. What is your fave? What do you prefer? Okay?
Okay.
So my first one is Twilight Zone or Outer Limits.
Oh, Twilight Zone. I love Rod Serling.
I love Rod Serling too. I really do. So, but I'm a big Outer Limits fan also. I grew up with that.
I watched a lot of those too. The Reaper Bridge is based on, was inspired by Outer Limits theme. Ting, 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 ting.
Yeah.
That was Donald doing his Outer Limits.
Wow, very cool. Okay. Godzilla or Nosferatu?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd go with Godzilla. You got to love Godzilla. Nosferatu, it's kind of an acquired taste. Godzilla.
Hot Rails to Hell or Morning Final?
That's tough too. I'd go with Hot Rails to Hell because that one I perform more than any other song of mine in Blue Oyster Cult. And they still play it now with Richie singing it. Does a great job. Hot Rails.
Okay.
It came, one of those quick songs, came together in a flash. The guys, did a tremendous performance on that song. I don't know if it sounds that great on Tyranny, but it certainly has held up over time.
It's great in the live album, the first live album. I love it. I remember that song in your set list, New Year's Eve, 1975. It stuck in my mind.
Yep.
That one in Cities on Flame stuck in my mind. I was like, wow. First time I'm hearing it,
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft?
I don't know that much about Lovecraft, but I do love Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay. I could have said Pit and the Pendulum or the Dunwich Horror, which you probably would have recognized.
I would have been more confused.
Okay. This is a personal one. Homemade Italian food or Chinese takeout?
Oh, homemade Italian food.
Okay. Hands down, huh?
Ooh. Yeah, you
And
gotta have the sauce. You
hands
gotta
down.
have the right sauce.
Okay. Stephen King's The Shining or Stephen King's The Stand?
Ooh, that's. I think it's a tie.
That's a
I
tie.
think
It's a
I would
tough
say
one.
that's a tie. There's no question. The Shining is just but The Stand is pretty
Yeah, I wish they would release that in Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I have it on DVD, but it would be great if they put it out on Blu-ray. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know you're a big Helen Wheels fan. I remember her. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, so I remember her. Celestial the Queen or Fallen Angel?
Ooh. I think Fallen Angel. I would. That one was that I did that with Martin Birch, and that was kind of miraculous. It wasn't going to be on the album. It was a last minute thing. I had this music, and Helen sent me the lyrics that she wanted to replace the. Did I have? I don't even know. I think I just had a musical thing, and I played it for her, and she came up with the Fallen Angel, and then I was singing it in the low range, and Martin said, "Sing it the way you sang the last line. Just do the whole song like that." And I said, "You're crazy. I'll never be able to do that." Just don't worry, I'll make it happen. So Martin really encouraged me to. Like I said, there's a situation where he finds what you're good at. Do that again, and again and again and again. Like Deep Purple. I like that riff, the Smoke on the Water. Just do it again. Do it again.
Wow. I would have went for Celestial, but that's because I loved every single song on Spectres.
I get a lot of emails now how they love Celestial the Queen, and I kind of am a little disappointed in the mix, but I have to revisit that song. I have to revisit. I must say it's not as personal to me as Fallen Angel, which is very personal to me.
Which you redid on the tribute album.
I've done it. So. Yeah, I've done it in different places. I did it in France. We're walking out to the stage at a festival in France. This is Blue Coupe. I played it with Dennis. Albert knows the song, but we didn't rehearse it at all. We're walking to the stage, and the promoter's wife says, "Hey, can you play that song, Fallen Angel?" And it was the promoter's wife. Of course she can play it. So we went out there not knowing what we were doing, and we just slammed it. It was just like it was one of the most incredible performances. Maybe because we didn't rehearse it. Maybe we had no idea what we were doing. We made it up on the spot. So anyway,
that's magical.
YouTube. It's on YouTube.
That's magical. Yeah, I found it. I've seen it.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Okay, this is my last one, my friend. We've spent quite some time. I appreciate all of your stories. Of course, your influence on me personally. I appreciate these gifts that you sent me, and I'm going to give one away to a listener.
Lucky
yes. So I appreciate it. So my last one now, and this one is going to be very, very particular to our audience. So let's see what you're going to answer, what you're going to say, okay? Fender Precision or Fender Stratocaster?
Ooh. It's pretty close there. It's pretty close. I got to go with the Strat. The Strat
Boo! This is a bass podcast, Joe.
I just love Strats. I mean, Precision is the bass that's on the hits, and the Reaper bass is, Precision.
All right, let me start that over again.
Okay, you want to rephrase that.
Let me start this over again. Fender Precision or Alembic?
I'll go with the Fender Precision, just because.
You broke my heart twice.
I can't win at this game.
No, you did really good. You did excellent. I knew, first of all, once I put a Strat up against a Precision, since you're really a guitar player at heart, I knew you were going to go for the Strat.
When I was in high school, I had a 1964 Strat. It was the best guitar. It was the best. It was really, I love that the sound of that guitar. And stupidly, I traded it when I got to college because it wasn't a serious guitar. You know what those 64 Strats are going for now? Like 40 grand. But that's not the thing. It's like, I learned my lesson. If you have a good guitar and it sounds good, don't ever sell it,
Yeah, it took me, I'm heartbroken still to this day because I had a 76 Fender Precision.
Great year.
Maple neck, rosewood fingerboard, sunburst. And I bought it on 48th Street, but my favorite bass, which I never should have traded, was my 77, I believe, 77 or 76 Gibson LS9 fretless Ripper.
Wow.
Yes. And back then I used to string them with the Rotosound black coated strings. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, but you know what? I don't think I would be a slap funk bass player if I didn't do that because I couldn't really slap on either one of those basses. I was not a really good slap guy,
Yeah, but Warwick or,
Yeah. So listen.
I've never slapped on the Lembic, but
you gotta try that. You gotta try that. So it's time to say goodbye, my friend. I had a great time. Thank you for spending your Wednesday evening, and you made this fanboy. You made his dreams come true. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I knew you were a guitar player at heart, so I'm like thinking to myself, is Joe gonna be a good guest on this bass podcast? But
hey, lately I've been into trumpet. You can see my trumpets back there, and I did solos on Albert's new album. That's on the charts and Billboard now. And somebody was saying it's because of Joe's trumpet parts.
That's hilarious, but that's good.
Yeah.
You know what?
Well,
it's good.
I had this frustration because I played trumpet in high school, but I was the worst guy, and I wanted to study brass instruments in college, but my teacher said no. You're not. Think of something else. So I ended up being a piano major. But now I'm going back to the brass, and I love it. I love it. It's so demanding. It's so demanding. So hard to play. Really hard to play. But I'll put on Miles Davis. I'll put it down at half speed. Play along with Miles. I played along with Louis Armstrong. All the jazz from the 50s and 60s. I really love, and I've been doing a lot of that just for pleasure.
Yeah, well, that's what music is all about, man. Hey, we got to say goodbye. Thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight, and I really appreciate it. Take care, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.